Hey everybody, welcome to webinar number 4. You can see we have a Brady Bunch screen today, almost, not quite. We've got Ben and we have a couple special guests today. How are you, Ben? Good morning.
Oh, I'm super awesome.
That's when I toss it to you, Ben.
I'm home today, so that's nice to be home. And I'm excited for our next leadership mentorship program call. And I'm really blessed because I have 3 of my favorite people in the world with me and 3 people that I learn a lot from and I've shared myself with. And so I'm excited. Why don't you introduce our guests?
I have not seen anything on chat, so do me a favor. Let me just make sure you're all seeing and hearing us. And say hi and where you're from for me. Hi, Jen. Perfect. Hi, Nicole. Jacqueline, Brandon. Oh, there's so many. It's like a ticker tape. That makes me so happy when I see ticker tape like that. So awesome. All right, so for all of you people who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Ben and I have been doing monthly webinars under what we call our leadership mentoring program. And really, and Ben, feel free to jump in, our goal has been to, it started out as educating our people and just kind of giving them leadership training and mentoring. And then we decided that we wanted to open it up to the world because that's kind of who we are as an organization. And so this is our 4th one. Those of you that are in the mentoring group on Facebook, it's a really active group, should have just finished reading The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and The Ideal Team Player. And that's kind of the premise of the webinar today. And if you haven't, that's okay. You're still going to get a lot out of it. Ben, is there anything you want to add about the program before I kind of jump into today's guests and topic?
Nope. Let's go.
All right. So it's a little different today. We have a couple guests, and I handpicked these guys for this topic. So I knew for a while that this topic was going to be on teams, and I thought really hard about who are 2 team leads that have been through ups and downs. That was important to me to have people on here. Every one of us on this call has been through team highs and lows, right? It was really important for me to not just have this team that had been together 6 months and we're going to tell you all the unicorns and rainbow stuff, right? So Lance, Loken, and I met on stage. We went backstage the first time both of us were on stage with Gary Keller.
Yep,
remember that?
I absolutely do. I still got the photo.
What year was that, Lance?
2013 or 14.
Yeah. And I felt really, bonded with Lance ever since that moment because we were both kind of new to the scene and we kind of grew up together. I feel like in the Keller Williams system.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and Lance, do you want to tell everybody, a little bit about your team now? You're in Houston and what that looks like, and just kind of what 2019 is going to be like for you, to just kind of catch everybody up, maybe what your team looks like, what the makeup is, and what you guys are going to do.
Sure. We started in January of 2011. Karina and I did, and she got me into this business, and we started out with the end of our first year having 4 people, and then the end of the second year grew into 8 people. And as of yesterday, we have 86 people in the organization. And basically, it's an organization of departments that are made up of specialists in their particular role. And as we've continued to grow, we've tried our best to become more and more efficient in each of our expertise.
That's great. That's great. In the other corner, we have Adelina Rotar. And Adelina, you and I know exactly when we met. We met in 2012 at Mega Camp at both of our first Mega Camps, right? And full disclosure, Adelina is one of my best friends. And when she was going through a career transition, I basically forced her upon Ben. And her and Ben, I'm so happy to say, went into business together. And Adelina, you are Ben's first out-of-state expansion partner. Is that right?
That is correct.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about where you are, Austin, and kind of catch us up to your team now, what it looks like now. I really think for you, it's compelling to know where it started. where it is now and in what period of time?
Yeah, I love this topic because I was a team lead of my own team before, and that had really good highs and super low lows. After that, I was a team leader, and after that, I got really lucky to partner with Ben and start the Texas region. And so I'm based in Austin, Texas. I know a lot of you on this call, which is really exciting because you've seen like the progress of how, 5 years ago you can be one place and now you can be somewhere else. And it's all through success through others. It has probably very little to do with me and a lot to do with being able to hire really great people and maintaining that culture of transparency and trust and results. So we started with 0 agents, built it with new agents, and that was January 2016. And now we're on track for $2.5 million GCI. A lot of people say a lot about tracking, but we really are. It's really exciting, and that's kind of our story. We are growing leaders in Austin. We've got people going to Waco now and San Antonio now, and productivity coaches that have been developed. So excited about the growth and excited to share today.
Yeah, and you have about 20 team members. Is that right, Adelina?
Yeah, thanks for that. 20 team members and then staff.
Yeah, and Lance, just to kind of give everybody the visual, I think of you as a spoke and a wheel in Houston, where you have a hub and then you have kind of these mini, because it's such a big area, right? These mini geographical hubs, right?
Right. Yeah, we divided Houston up into 5 particular regions. Yeah. And we have agents that live and work in each of those areas.
It's awesome. And then Ben, I feel like it'd be easy to skim over your successes, but in I guess today I feel a little bit more like facilitator than partner. I really am proud of what you built. I think you should tell everybody what this empire looks like right now. I think you should kind of lay out for everybody what Ben Kinney expansion teams looks like, because we can't assume everybody in the call actually knows that, right?
I hate talking about ourselves, but what matters to us is that we are building extremely profitable businesses. I only partner with people that want to be profitable. I don't care about the GCI, the volume, or the units. I care that our profitability hits a minimum of 20% monthly, and at the high end, we're at 34 to 37%, depending on the year. As I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, the goal of a business is to make a profit. The goal of profit is to acquire assets. The goal of assets is to provide security and freedom for us to do what we want, with who we want, when we want. And because of that, we don't grow super fast. We added 3 teams last year, not 300. We will add 2 or 3 in the next couple months, and maybe no more for the rest of the year, because we're very specific about where we go and that we maintain our profitability, because I am in this business to make a profit, to fund these lifestyles of my employees and my people and my partners, not for anything else. I'm past that trophy range. So, and we have about 22 locations we close between $1.5 million and $2.5–3 million in GCI every month. Right?
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for, Ben. I appreciate it's not about a humble brag. It's about actually, just from a data standpoint, explaining to everybody what your context is. Because when I created the panel, I view Adelina as having a Adelina, your team's a little bit more like that. Okay, we're 2 or 3 years into a newer team, right? Lance has a super mature local team, with a local expansion. Then Ben, you're kind of the pinnacle. I thought it was a really good mix to have you 3, because we kind of have 3 different representations. So I wasn't trying to make you brag about yourself, but I think everybody kind of needs to understand what the levels are that we're talking about. All right.
The thing that makes Adelina and Lance and us and you, I think, stand out from the crowd is that all of us are implementers. We don't sit in the room and learn and then go back and never do anything. We actually implement at a high level. Once we vet the idea, we go back and we 100% do it. That's why you can take a team like Lance's and mastermind and share with Adelina's and Austin. They get together annually to share ideas because both of them actually implement. And that's unique in this industry, right, Lance?
100%. And I feel like the four of us are all business people as well. You know, our focus is on profit. We're not in this business to be losing money. We're in this business to help fund everybody in our organization's lives. And then, you know, the other piece that you brought out a lot now lately, Ben, is giving to others as well, you know, through charitable efforts. And we've taken your lead as far as that's concerned and broadened the horizons into that world.
Yeah, well said, Lance. Well said. I'm going to bring us to, can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, you might want to hit play, but there you go.
Play. What do you want me to do, Ben?
You're good. Carry on.
All right. All right. So we're gonna kind of walk through the 5 dysfunctions of a team together. And you know, for those of you who don't know, I should have introduced myself. I'm sorry. I get super focused on everybody else. I'm the director of growth for the brokerages division of the Ben Kinney companies, which means I went from running a team. I went from running a real estate team, which a lot of you guys on the call understand, to overnight having almost 1,400 agents and 10 real estate offices. So a couple key components have been a big part of my journey in brain space, I can't talk, over the last 9 months. One of them is, how do I build, because for me, my new team is a leadership team of team leaders and, you know, to some extent MCAs, definitely productivity coaches and designated brokers. So what's been on my mind a lot is, how do I start at a foundational level as the new kid in town? So the 5 dysfunctions of a team has been a little bit of my Bible lately. So we're going to kind of dive into those 5 things. And I've just asked Ben and Adelina and Lance to just kind of jump in and talk about it. And that's really going to be the format of the webinar today. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Look at your cute pictures, everybody. Okay, good. Have that talk. All right, so I want to start with the first one. This is the one I've definitely focused on the most. Lack of trust. When your team members don't trust each other, they don't communicate honestly and openly. So tell me what you guys have done on a foundational level to build trust in your teams.
Why don't we start with Adelina or Lance?
Adelina, I think you're a good person to start with on this, actually.
That's awesome.
Because I know what you've done.
Yeah. So I think building trust is something that that takes time, right? And it takes time and it takes building relationships. So in my mind, I have it in about 4 different buckets, if you want to write them down. The first way that I feel like we've built trust is we hire to our value system. It's easier to build trust when everyone is on the same value system. It's fine to have different beliefs, but when you have different values, everybody's going their own separate ways, and there's a lot of friction. So when everyone is, like in our model, we have the acronym HEALTH, right? Everybody believes in hard work and extraordinary results and being accountable in all things and being leaders and teamwork and being humble. So when everyone is coming from contribution and a sense of service for others, it's really an easy way for everybody to feel like, yes, I can trust my team, right? Because everyone is like me. Everyone is familiar. They have the same values. Consistently casting the vision is probably the second thing that we've done as well as we could. In the beginning, trust starts with being able to trust the vision of the visionary, of Ben, of the leader, of me, in our system. And then when the leader is working hard and leading by example and putting the team first, I feel like that's our third one. That's something that I'm really consistent as a leader. I say what I'm going to do. I do it. I tell everyone I did it. And I do my very best to be consistent in that. So I think showing up as a leader, and anyone that's a perceived leader in the organization, right? Because I'm not the only leader. There are other leaders, even if they don't have a title. There are people who are getting results, and those people also have the same esteem. And then fostering a culture of mutual respect is probably something that we've done really well in. Everyone who joins our team interviews with the team. And what that looks like is they'll interview with me, and then they'll interview with one of my leaders, and then they come into Power Up, and then they come into shadow a lead gen day that we have. And all of my agents know that we're going to be talking about whether this person is embodying our culture or not. And this way, everyone feels like this person's going to be an asset and not like a team competition. And so I think all four of those things is over time builds trust with everybody. It starts absolutely with trust in the system, trust in the person, but it is maintained by everyone doing these four things.
That's fantastic. That's great, Trixie. Adelina, Lance, what about you? That's going to be really hard for me.
I was just going to say whatever Adelina just said is exactly what we do. I mean, that was phenomenal. You know, at the end of the day, it all starts with you as the leader trusting your people and hiring the right people to carry out your vision, your mission, and your values. And what Adelina said, you know, is everything rises and falls with values, because if you're not in alignment with the values of each other and the values of the organization, you're going to have people coming and going, and that's okay, because if your values don't line up with everybody else's, that just means they're going in a different direction. And the trust factor is gigantic, because we as leaders need to trust our people that are in leadership roles in the organization. You have to trust them, or what's the purpose of you being in a leadership role? Because people make mistakes on a daily basis. What you learn from those mistakes that bring your team together, and you're all going in one direction. So.
That's awesome. And I think it's great. I think if I was going to push you on that, Lance, I'd love to know what you're doing to foster that.
Sure, right? Absolutely. So I never tell anybody what to do. I'm always asking, and we do a lot of collaboration. When we have an executive meeting every Tuesday morning, and in those meetings, we're all collaborating and discussing challenges within our organization and how we're going to attack them. And it's never Karina or myself telling everybody what to do. We're asking how best we can overcome this challenge. And that automatically creates buy-in. It creates ownership. And another thing is, when people make mistakes, which we do on a daily basis, we own them. And then we talk about what we've learned from them. So, you know, that's where it gets fostered. And once that happens enough times, your people start doing the exact same thing with leaders within their departments. And it just starts branching out to all different facets of your organization. And now you're not the one typically leading the role. You have your leaders leading the role, and they're setting an example of collaboration as well.
That's really good. Ben, do you have anything to add?
You know, trust is gained or lost. It's never, you don't start off with any sort of trust in a relationship. Everything is about this dating period. And for us, what's unique about like Adelina and how she runs her business is she's willing to turn off leads for her number one agent if her number one agent doesn't do the standards that we explained. And because of that, all the rest of the people on the team, they look up and they say, you know what, Adelina treats her number one agent just like she treats me. everything is fair. And then they can't get mad at stuff like that. You know, we come up with these models and systems, whether we call it our lead gen model or our opportunity model, that everybody has the same opportunity if they earn it. Nobody gets to go back and say, hey, I don't trust your organization because you do something different for this person. Because we can go back and say, well, this person is at this level, and if you got to that level, you can have the same exact thing. Because of that, everybody creates trust and everybody supports each other. It's not a big competition. It's everybody helping everybody move forward.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. I think what one of the things Adelina does really well that I've emulated, in fact, I kind of came into my new position emulating, is this, that basically you said, Ben, but this transparency. And so, you know, it's a very open and direct and transparent communication. And I watched her do that with her team because I think I failed on that in the past. I don't think I was very transparent, the old Vija. And I came into this and I remember for my first 90 days, my mantra was I'm going to over communicate to everybody and be super transparent because I need them to trust me. I need them to trust me fast. And the only way I know how to do that. So for all you guys who are just kind of starting teams or coming into an existing team, I just communicated often and super openly. And I still am very open, and so is Adelina. You know, we're just very transparent. There's just not a lot of secrets. There doesn't need to be, right?
No, trust is created when people know that you care. It's not that they know that, it's not that they like you. And
yeah,
and Adelina would be good examples of, they don't always like me all the time, but they always know that they can trust me and that I care about them and I'm going to put their best interest first. And because of that, we can have disagreements and still trust each other. Does that make sense? Are you building a world like Lance does where everybody in that place knows that he cares as much or more about them than he does about himself? And we show up in such a way that people look up and say, I can see the sacrifices that the leader makes. And they wouldn't do that if they didn't care. And therefore, they give you trust.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, go ahead.
The only thing I would add is we talked about, you know, at the beginning, it's trust in the vision, it's trust in the system, trust in the leader. And then over time, you know, it's, I think sometimes, or something that I didn't do well in the past is, you maintain trust in that leader and in that system by people actually getting results. So sometimes trust is broken because people aren't getting the results that they thought they were going to get. And then that's where, you know, like you as a leader have to show up as that accountable leader, that person that's going to get them where they need to go, where they said they wanted to go. Because in the past, I have done the first couple things, but it didn't get them into production fast enough. And they just lost trust in the whole entire thing. So that's the other thing that sometimes show up. Like, you may not have done anything wrong in your mind, but the fact that they didn't get what they wanted out of it, trust was instantly broken. It's really hard to get back.
That's a huge takeaway right there. And I completely agree. Looking back, I think that was part of my challenge with my team. I emailed our team leaders last night and I asked them to comment on each of the 5 things. I was like, what have Ben and I, you know, I'd love to get your guys' feedback for our webinar tomorrow about, you know, how you think Ben and I are doing well or not doing well in some of these areas. And I thought one of my team leaders, Lena, texted something really, really great that I thought I would share. And she said, trust comes with time, but I feel like I trust you both completely. You listen and pay attention and actually take real action. Nothing is ever just brushed under the rug or dismissed. You make me feel like what I say matters. All of that breeds trust. I thought that was really, really great. This is I think this is foundational. You know, Ben likes pyramids. Ben, I failed. I didn't draw a pyramid. I'm sorry. I feel like a failure. I just thought of that.
A trust pyramid while we're going through this right now.
I know, right? By the end of it, Ben's going to have like 10 pyramids. But if we had a pyramid of 5, you know, the five dysfunctions of the team, I physically visualize trust being on the bottom, and I think it deserves the time that we've given it, because without lack of trust in any relationship, let alone a team, it's all, forget it. When trust is broken, it's over. It's over. It is the foundational element of, I believe, not just any team, I believe any relationship, right?
What I like about all three of you guys is you guys tell me what you believe, what you think, and how you feel, even if it will hurt my feelings. And what that does is it creates trust with me and you guys, because I know exactly where I stand. There's nothing worse to me than somebody walking up saying, "You're awesome," and giving me a high five, and then walking out the door, and I know they hate my guts.
Yeah.
I would rather you guys 100% say, "You know what, right now, Ben, I don't want to talk to you. I'm pissed off at you."
Mm-hmm.
And us know exactly where we're at, because that creates trust. Deceit is when you don't know what's going on, right? That creates a lack of trust when there isn't that clear communication. And it's why Vija and I have a rule that if we have an issue, we bring it up that day. We don't get to sit on it, because we always want to know what's going through each other's mind. You see that face Vija just made? Because it's not always easy to get that out in the open at the time that it needs to be gotten out.
Actually, Ben, this is leading us, keep talking, because this is leading us right to our next, oh, sorry. Oh, wow. What did I just do? I'm not doing a good job here. This leads us right to our next, sorry, let me put present mode there.
You should probably let me run the slides from now on.
Please, can you run the slides from now on? Yeah.
A leader's job is to take action immediately. When somebody is not a leader, what they do is they avoid confrontation. They avoid issues, and they think that they're getting the most important things done, but they're basically breeding resentment, anger, disappointment, and a poison inside their organization. And it's one of the things I have to work on with so many of my people is, when you have an issue, resolve it. Well, what do you mean? Well, bring them into my office right now. Let's talk about it. Well, I need to think of it. No, you don't. You just told me what you thought. Bring them in. We're going to have that conversation right now. Get them on the phone. Get them in here. There's no reason for us to let anything wait, because all there is created is a wedge between you and that person.
Yeah, you created the 24-hour rule, Ben. I mean, we are not, like, the goal and the standard is you cannot go past 24 hours with some kind of an inbred resentment, any kind of a passive aggression or inbred resentment. And and then because you have pushed me on that, I now push my people on that. And it's really, and I push them to do it with their people.
Yeah, Lance, he had something to chime in there.
Well, I was just going to say, high D personalities, and this is one of my biggest weakness, is feeling taken advantage of. And without the confrontations from your people and your organization, that becomes so prevalent. So we do the exact same thing. When you have an issue with somebody, get it taken care of immediately, because all you're doing is holding back everybody in the organization from being successful. And it's a gigantic challenge.
Yeah, Kathleen Alexander just kind of said resentment circles with a smiley face. And we don't resolve conflict because we don't know how to resolve it. We don't have a model or a system for it, or we're afraid of the outcome. I've become unattached. I'm untethered AF from the outcome, because it's inevitable. The outcome's going to be what the outcome's going to be. Right. And then I created a model around resolving conflict using our resentment circle exercise. So you guys got to come up with your own model and your own process and your own standards, as Vija brought up, about how fast you resolve it, how you resolve it, and so on, so you can move on.
Ben, we need to do a webinar on resentment circles, because that just continually comes up. It's interesting to me, that comes up no matter what our topic is. Isn't that interesting? Resentment really, if I have a feeling when we reflect back on the theme of this year, we're going to be surprised at how often resentment comes into every single webinar that we've done. Adelina, fear of confrontation. Talk to us about your culture and how you guys have healthy disagreements.
Yeah, so when you brought this up, my mind went into two different places, right? Because there is confrontation that's good, and then there's confrontation that's not so good. so a couple of things in my mind, is it a disagreement or is it an improvement, right? Sometimes I take things personally and I see it as a disagreement, but it's not a disagreement. It's an improvement to the system, and they're coming from a good place. So what I was talking to a couple of my agents, my top agents, and they said, disagreements, where do those come from? They come from a lack of communication or miscommunication or inconsistent communication. And as the high D and a lot of team leads on this call, like that's one of the things, like we'll do it for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, but consistently not so much, right? So the being able to be consistent in your communication will probably take away 90% of the disagreements that you have on the team. And the bigger you grow and the more maybe robust your sales force is, the more that's going to be super important. Speak first to understand rather than to be understood is something that's really prevalent in our team in Austin. The other thing that Ben said was allowing that disagreement to be solutions focused, right? There's a problem, like what's the button, what's the plan, right? Like we can't just have disagreements running rampant. Like there's always a solution. So by modeling that model for our agents, then they also become solutions oriented. As far as having improvements, that's a healthy kind of thing that I see a lot of because we grow so fast in our organization. And I think something that we've done well is having a platform for that. What that looks like is there's a weekly survey that goes out every Friday, same time, 3:00 every Friday. It says, what should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What should we continue doing? And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being, I hate working here, with 5 being, I love coming to work every day, how are we doing? Right. And it allows them to share improvements, allows them to share things that they're not happy with and things that are going to snowball into a disagreement in the future. And then we started using polls a lot. For example, I have a team meeting first Thursday of the month. And yesterday I sent out a poll and it said, what's your favorite thing that you're getting out of team meetings every month? What are you missing from these team meetings? How is the length of the team meetings? Like, is it too long, too short, just right? And so I love that because I don't love opening up those survey monkeys because I get a pit in my stomach a little bit, but at the same time, it's helping us grow every time and improve. And so that when we have confrontation, it's positive confrontation. And then the last thing I think is there's confrontation that's negative. It's bitching and complaining, and I have no room for it. My people know that we have no room for it. There's always DNA in it, right? So I always look at where is my DNA in this? Is our value prop what I said it would be? Am I who I said I would be? Are the people feeling valued? And I fix what I need to fix on my side of it. But if someone's being toxic, if someone's being a cultural disruptor, they get 2 conversations. The 3rd conversation is back to the team leader. That's all I got.
Well said, Adelina. Lance, how do you notice that there's a confrontation that needs to happen in your world? Because you and I have this, let's say something completely sexist, Lance. We're guys, so we don't always notice that there's something wrong. So what are you doing in your world to notice when you have to have a confrontation or to dig deeper into one of these relationships?
Yeah, so on a daily and weekly basis, I'm meeting with our executive team and having conversations just like that. What's the pulse of your department? What's going on that's really going well? What challenges are you having? And by asking those questions, and they know that they have the freedom to open up and not be worried about the repercussions of opening up, we've opened up a really good space for people to have that communication. The other thing is I try to have conversations with people in our office on a regular basis, and I'd much rather be sitting in my office by myself working And I force myself to go out and talk to people, because you can't get a pulse of your organization if you're not out there and talking with them, especially with the leadership group. And so when we find out what the challenges are, we immediately go and get them tackled and move forward from that. That 24-hour rule, we do it, and we need to be very purposeful on that. So I love that idea.
Lance, what I heard you say was, if your people trust you, then the confrontation is not bad, because they know you have their best interest, and it's easier to have it. If you're walking
100%.
into a room and you don't trust them or they don't trust you, confrontation is actually pretty bad.
Correct. 100%.
I started reading these books about body language and the FBI's guide and You Can't Lie to Me and all these sort of things, not because I felt like I was being deceived, but I felt like people didn't feel safe telling me the truth or explaining what was really wrong. So I sit back as a guy, and I have to be more purposeful in seeing what are the things that Vija and Adelina are not telling me today, right? What is their body language telling me? Are they really agreeing with me right now, or are they just in a hurry? Do they have an issue that I haven't heard? And I'm looking for those things so I can go and I can ask follow-up questions to get it out. And I don't mean Vija and Adelina specifically, but the people in my world, how do I look for nonverbal cues to see, is there something that we need to discuss and resolve so that we can move forward on great terms?
Ben, we talk about that quite a bit in our listing appointments. We try to focus on the sellers and find out what the nonverbal communication is going on. That's a great analogy to utilize with your own people to figure out what's happening with them as well.
Yeah, for Vija, whenever she says it's fine, I know it is not fine, ladies and gentlemen. If she says it's fine, it's not fine. And if she says it's fine, don't worry, it's fine twice, I'm really screwed.
Yeah.
So I look for the fine words, the phrases that I've learned over time and having a relationship with these amazing people of how to dig in deeper, dig in deeper.
Yeah, and I think that just to tie that up with a bow, all three of you, what all three of you said, and I think what's important for people watching to take away is that whatever it looks like, each organization has a framework in place to have a safe spot for a dissenting view. And what I mean by that is when I reflect back on dissenting opinions that I got defensive on, often it's because they provided that dissenting opinion in a not appropriate venue, like maybe in a team meeting or in front of different people. And I would, maybe get upset with them, right? I certainly would get defensive about it. And in looking back, there wasn't a framework in place for them to tell me that privately. There wasn't a good, safe place. They didn't feel comfortable saying it privately. And the only venue I really probably gave them was maybe at the team meeting or in a more public, place, right? So I think what's important to take away is if you have a team that has a fear of confrontation, what is your framework, within your organization that's allowing them to have that dissenting opinion? At the end of the day, if I'm really upset, I can drive 90 minutes up to Ben and go set a meeting with him, right? Or call them up or whatever, right? Lance, you're going to meet with your people. Trix, you're going to meet with your people. We all have a pretty set framework in place, which I think makes for healthy teams.
Well, a harder relationship is like the one with Adelina and I, because geographically we are across the United States from each other, and we're both busy, and we're not natural all the time communicators. So sometimes I'll just have to go back to Adelina or her to me and just say, hey, are we good? And Adelina will send it to me sometimes if I've been quiet or whatever. She'll, hey, are we good? And if I feel like she's being quiet, I'll sometimes reach out and say, hey, are we good? And 99% of the time we're good, but it's our job to check on the status of that relationship, especially when you don't have that face-to-face touch like Adelina would have with her team members as you're working with more remote partners and so on.
Always watch for withdrawal. When someone changes their pattern and behavior of communication, it is a clear yellow or red flag. And for me, you want to get scared when I get quiet. All right, let's move on to the next one. I keep skipping. Why do these keep skipping? Ben, you really need to do slides next
You have
time.
a very powerful finger.
That is going to get comments right there. Absence of commitment. So the book says absence of commitment. I call this lack of buy-in, right? And it's when team members are not committed to the mission. I find, and certainly Patrick Lencioni finds, and we all find, that efforts stall and stop. Teams work best when every single member clearly understands, endorses, and commits to the goals. Have at it.
You know, Via, here would be the thing I'll start us with. Getting your team to buy in to Adelina's $2.5 million goal, to Lance's goal of X, of your goal of Y, it never works. It's your goal. Our job of buy-in and commitment is getting them to know that we're committed to them achieving their goal. And then our goal is to make sure that the summation of all their goals equals our goal. Does that make sense?
That's 100% spot on. Yeah.
And I see leaders all the time that say, you know what, our people, they're just not bought in. They're not excited about the blah, the blah, the blah. And it's because it has nothing to do with them. Like, how do we get them excited? And the kind of things that we'll talk about would be, hey, when are you going to buy your next investment property? What are you putting? How much money are you putting into your retirement? Right? When are you going to hire a showing agent? Like, make it about them, and then that creates a commitment between two parties. It's not putting a poster on the wall saying we're going to sell 1,000 properties or whatever. That doesn't create commitment.
So one of the things that Ben alluded to and we've put into practice so purposefully is going bottoms up. And what I mean by doing that is find out what everybody on your team's goals are and have that roll up to, you know, something specific, like what's your production going to be for the year, and find out what their numbers are that they're going to commit to. And if you don't have enough people to achieve that ultimate goal of whatever that number may be, you need to fill in with additional people. And you know, you don't need to focus on everybody achieving this specific number. You need to find out what's going to be meaningful to them and what's going to drive them to hit the ultimate number versus here's the number and then everybody's got to figure out how they're going to achieve it. You know, because it doesn't matter when we tell people what to do. It matters what they believe in and what they're committed to.
I mean, you're both saying the same thing, you know, basically. I mean, it's really smart. Trixie, do you have anything to, Adelina, do you have anything to add?
I think, well, I mean, everything, we could go on and on about this, but I think buy-in, you know, like Ben and Lance both said, it's less about my $2.5 million goal, because all my team's goal together would equal like $3.5 million. But just to put it in application, one thing we do on Mondays at our Power Up, I go through the night before and I go through and I check how many of my agents do not have 10,000 net income closing in the next 30 days. And I go into Power Up and I'm like, guys, you know, we have 4 agents that don't have $10,000 closing net income in the next 30 days. And that's our focus. And when we started tracking it, it was like 11 agents, right? And now it's 4 agents. And I'm like, this is the one time I want us to be at 0. This is the one thing we can be at 0. And we track it every single Monday. And so I think the message is clear, like it is all about them. And in reality, it really is. Like no one goes anywhere without all of us going somewhere, right? And then the other thing I would say is Ben's done a really good job with this, and Lance has done a really good job with this. I know you're doing a great job with it in the team leader world. The more simple your model and system is, the higher rate of your buy-in, because they'll be able to get results faster. And when you get results, you get buy-in consistently, not just once, not just twice, not just at the beginning of the month or when they just had a closing, but consistently. So I would say simplify your model, simplify your system so that people can buy into it and get results faster.
So for all three of you guys, thank you. This is just great stuff. I want to take notes. I'm going to watch this again and take notes. For all three of you guys, I want to dig one level deeper on that, because I'm hearing you all and it all sounds great. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I have my own individual goal. Why am I on a team though? Adelina, why is it better that I'm on a team that does 2.5 million? Ben, why is it better that if I'm on the #1 team in the country? Lance, why is it better if I'm in the, the biggest team in Texas? How does that also, layered on top of my own personal goal, how does that get me to buy into the team mission?
So I read this newsreader app all the time, and I start seeing these titles of these articles popping up, they're like clickbait titles. But I've been seeing this one pop up a lot, and it says blah blah blah, and this is why you should care. And you need to do that in your world as well, to say, hey, we're the largest team in Texas, and no one sells more homes in Houston than Lance Loken and his team, and this is why that matters to you. And by the way, this is why that should matter to your clients. And you go through and you have that conversation and you tie it to something that matters to them and their goals, right? And in our trainings, we would say, first thing you do is you establish their goals, and then you talk about how your value, your goals would help them accomplish their goals. And then you talk about the opportunity below and how, if they're able to accomplish their goals and you're able to accomplish your goals, what opportunities that would create for both of you. That's why we call it goals, values, opportunity. And it's a path that you follow in getting people to have commitment. Yeah.
Really, really good. Really good stuff. Adelina or Lance, anything you want to add to that?
Well, we make everybody, as soon as they join our organization, create and then present their vision boards. And by doing that, and even during the interview process, we find out what their big goals are or what their vision is for them personally, as well as business-wise. And then we do all of our accountability sessions surrounding their vision boards. So you said you were going to accomplish this week. How is that helping you get to Disneyland this year? And when they say they didn't achieve the goal, they go, well, are you going to be able to tell your children that they're not going to go to Disneyland this year because you weren't willing to make the commitment that you agreed to do at this certain period of time so that everybody can accomplish that? Well, of course not. Well, would you like me to make that phone call to your children, or would you like to make that phone call to your children? And you're not being a jerk. At the same time, you're driving to their motivation. You're driving to what they wanted to accomplish.
I think, it's cool. I hear all you guys talk, and what it reminds me of is the captain class. And the culture that you're all creating, I'd like to think that I'm also creating in my crew, is that we play for each other, not necessarily for the coach, right? That we play for each other. I know that soldiers often say that they're out there, fighting for each other. They're fighting for their buddy next to them, right? So I think it's just so cool. It's just this is a really cool topic today. The part of the
Vija, can I give you 3 examples?
Yeah.
Like literally these just happened like in the last 24 hours. Because sometimes we hear it and then we're like, but it's a little airy-fairy. So one of our agents, Chris, he's a newer agent. And yesterday he went on a listing appointment, $750,000. I was able to pull up in the last 12 months how many homes we've sold in that zip code. It was 19 homes that we sold in that zip code. So Chris gets to walk in there that we've sold 19 homes in that zip code, right? So that's a huge difference between being on your own and being on a team who's succeeding, right? Number 2, another example, our agents take an average of 6 to 8 weeks off a year. That's a lot of time, and they don't skip a beat. Like Caitlin is going on vacation and Andrea is covering for her and vice versa. The third thing, being able to tap into the expertise of the whole group. Like Maria this morning she has a listing coming up and she was going to get, some opinions on it, right? Otherwise she probably would have spent all day on this in like a series of like 3 minutes, she had 6 different opinions and she was ready to move on with her life. Like that's like real. That happens every day, every few hours.
It's awesome. I love it. Just reinforces everything. Let's move on to number 4, absence of accountability, which it's interesting because it's just, I don't know that we have to spend that long on this one. It feels so obvious to me. When team members, here's, I think, the thing to discuss. When we don't have foundational trust and we don't have all the stuff that we've talked about, it does make it harder to be accountable because accountability starts feeling like top-down management or micromanaging, right? So I think we all innately know we need accountability to have a healthy team. I think the thing to discuss is why do some teams have effective accountability and some don't? And Ben, I would love you to start because I think that we exemplify this in our daily reporting, right? In how our team leaders text us, and we have dashboards and the whole deal.
I like holding people accountable as much as I like eating kale and running. Pretty low down on my list, obviously. So I tend not to. And I'm able to avoid accountability conversations because I understand that the lack of accounting means the lack of accountability. Think about that. The lack of accounting means the lack of accountability, meaning if you aren't tracking your numbers, and then if I could add to that, the lack of transparency creates a lack of accountability, right? If you can create transparency and accounting of the standards and expectations of that person's role, you don't have to hold people accountable. The standards, the transparency, and the results do it for you. You don't have to have as many uncomfortable conversations, which is why the TLs message me every day with their numbers, and they CC you, and they CC every other TL in our organization. That's why the agents do that. That's why the EPs all report their numbers on the same sheet that everybody sees. That accounting and that transparency drives accountable people to do more and drives unaccountable people out of your organization. They don't like showing up every day and reporting zeros. At some point, they're like, screw this. I'm going to go somewhere where I can hide my laziness and my lack of results.
Yeah. And Ben, you can't have sideways accountability like that, like we're all describing on our teams, without the other 3 things, that we talked about, without trust, without a healthy environment to have, dissenting opinions, and without a true commitment to, I think, the team goal, right? I mean, if some of you watching this are cringing, thinking, oh my God, if I did that, everyone would leave. That's okay. You probably need to go back to the bottom of the pyramid and start on the foundational level of trust and just kind of go and build up from there. Because I think it's easy to throw this out as if, duh, like this is what you do, right? No one wants to hold anyone accountable. And I think you have to have a really healthy team to be at a point where you can do what we're all doing. Lance, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, my team holds me accountable on a daily basis just as much as I hold them accountable on a daily basis.
Well said.
You've got to be willing to be just as transparent of yourself, in front of everybody else. They all know where we're at financially. They all know where we're at systematically, and they all know where I stand at all times. And, it's not always fun and games. At the end of the day, though, Ben and I talk about this all the time. We're building an organization big enough to encompass all of our people's dreams and aspirations, and we have to be held accountable to that just as much.
I think Lance is naturally an accounting person because he was a CFO and he loves numbers, and Adelina is too, because they don't know the numbers like I do to the ish. They know it to the 2nd or 3rd decimal point. And because of that, they can take those numbers and put them in front of everybody, and everybody knows exactly where they stand at all times. And you don't have to have too many uncomfortable conversations. However, Lance and Adelina and Vija, you guys are all willing to say what Lance just said earlier. How is this adding up to you taking your kids to Disneyland? They're willing to say things that other people aren't willing to say. And that's why I get mad at my people when somebody comes in and they say, hey, I'm not hitting my goal today, or I'm not hitting my goal this month, and everybody jumps in and they say, that's okay, you'll get it next month. No, that's not helping people. That's screwing your peers, right? You need to jump in there and say, you got 3 days left. You can still make this happen. Pull up your pants and let's go get this shit done. Because your friends who are trying not to hurt your feelings are not really your friends. They walk in and say, don't worry, you can get healthier later after you have the heart attack. Don't worry, you'll do better next year and be able to buy that house. Don't worry, you'll hit your numbers later. Those are not your friends. Screw those people. Your friends are the people that say, Ben, you need to get your ass on a treadmill. You need to get your profit up. You need to go do these things. Those are the people that care. The people that care hold you accountable, have tough conversations, text you, and push you. They don't pat you on the head and say, good job, you'll do better next time because you're in kindergarten and you need a leather medal for last place.
You know, and at the end of the day, all you have to do is look at each of their vision boards. And if they don't hit their vision board goals, you have to point at yourself first, because you did them a disservice by not holding them accountable.
Well said.
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. This is my weakest link out of all 5 of them. I am so highly accountable to the point where I layer 3 to 5 layers of accountability on an important task that it is, admittedly, it's hard for me to relate. This is a really tough one for me. It's very hard for me to relate to people who are not naturally accountable, and I'm working on it. I just don't naturally do it because I'm an extreme. So I struggle with this one from a leadership perspective. And maybe some of you guys do too, you know, that are watching this.
The only thing I would add is, you know, you've got carrot and the stick, right? And Ben always says, you know, you set the pace and you set the vision in the front, and then you go to the back and start pushing. Especially now in summer months, you know, like one thing that's happening right now in our team is people are just getting so busy that they're not updating things that they normally would update. An example of that is they're not updating their appointments result, right? And so I could just, you know, be a hard ass about it and be like, hey, you need to do this. This is what you signed up for. And there's a time and a place for that. And instead, something that's worked really well for us is and I just do it every time I see a little tiny bit of an issue starting. I'll do like a 30-day kind of thing. Like right now, everyone who has more than X amount of appointments held that week, the next Monday at Power Up, I'll give them like movie gift card. It's $15. It just gets everybody back into the habit of doing the right thing without me having to come down hard. And there's a place for coming down hard. It's not always appropriate, if that's the word for it.
Yeah, well, for sure, you're rewarding with good behavior, the carrot for sure. It's the best approach every time. And there is a time and a place for the stick, but yeah.
It's probably more a sandwich. Like, how do you layer, hey,
there's always food though.
You're letting your kids down, and how can I help you get back on track? Yeah. Here's what you're doing good, and this is where you're failing. How can I help you get back on track? Because if you care, you're not just going to beat them with a stick. You're going to sandwich that good and that bad and have those honest conversations, which you 3 are so good at having.
Yeah, good point, Ben. Really, really, really good point. This is great stuff. Oh, maybe. So this is, we've kind of covered it, but this is that one time where that team member or team members decide that their personal gain and their personal goals are more important than the team goals, which is, kind of what I was getting to when I was asking you guys, like, why should people care about the team goals when we've all decided that it really boils down to them? It boils down to whatever they want in their lives, right? So how, we've kind of covered it, but to just drill down on this, talk to me about how we get our teams really focused on the team mission.
I'd just start by saying I don't care about it. In fact, I don't even ask Adelina what her goal is. She tells me what it is, and I care that she has that goal, and I want to support her to get it. But it's her goal. It's not mine.
Okay, I'm disagreeing with you.
I just got to make sure that all those things add up to me accomplishing my goals. and I'm focused on her doing hers, not me doing mine. So feel free to argue with me, Via.
I know. Put your gloves on, Ben. Are you ready? Everyone likes this anyway. This is when I get the most feedback. So we needed a good Ben and Via disagreement. It's about time. It's almost done, too. No, I think you do. I actually think you do a tremendously amazing job with this. And Adelina, feel free to jump in with your opportunity model. Because I think what you do is you absolutely tie what it means for all of us when the company, gets to where they want to go. And in fact, all of my team leaders who are on this call know I had a little heart-to-heart with them on Monday on our Zoom. And the little heart-to-heart was about, protecting an asset in our company. Remember, guys? You're all watching. And the asset of the company that we need to protect partly is Ben's time, so that Ben can go grow existing companies and buy new ones, right? And so, in that Zoom, I worked really hard to tie their personal goals to the team goal, because I think that's what you certainly do it with me. I mean, you have painted a clear picture for me and Adelina and all the expansion partners about how it benefits us, right, Trix? How it benefits us when the company grows.
So what you see in like our market centers, Via, is I don't set the goal. I set a standard. In order for them to keep the job and for us to go forward, they got to net 3, gross 10,
yep,
and increase owner profit by 15%. And that's not my goal. That is the bare minimum for us to stay in relationship together. My goal is to do as much as possible and to do more than last year. See the difference? My goal is for my expansion partners to hit their goals and to grow and to have improvement. But I'm not going back and saying, Adelina, you have to hit this year or we can't be partners. She's choosing that. Somebody killed Lance. He's gone.
Killed Lance. Wow. Adelina.
He actually had to get off the call.
Oh, yeah. He just texted me.
Yeah.
Shoot, I would have said goodbye to him. He had to be off the call sorry about that. Adelina, what gets your people though? I mean, Ben, I understand, but I just want to kind of wrap up by asking you this question, Adelina. Your people are really focused on your team goal.
Yeah.
They're excited about it.
They are very excited about it. I think that's who we recruited. I think one of my agents says it best. Her name is Andrea, and she says that we hire people who buy into the benefits of it takes a village, and they are jazzed up and motivated by their personal goal, and yet they want to see the happiness of everyone around them. And if I were to kind of like end this, there's a difference when you're recruiting people and when you're attracting people. And I feel like consistently over the last 3 years, we have worked really hard to have a very clear value system and a very clear culture where we build that culture together. We're transparent together. We know where everybody stands. Everybody sees their leaderboards every Monday. And at the same time, like it is for all of us to win. We win together. I win when Ben wins, and if Ben were to win and I didn't win, it wouldn't feel good. And if I were to win and my team wouldn't win, it wouldn't feel good. So I think we've just attracted that, and we've simplified it to the nth degree to where it's much easier to find those people and attract the people who buy into the benefit of doing it together.
Ben, I think you're more effective at that than you're saying. That's all. The argument is actually because I think you are doing that. I don't even know if you realize it.
Knowing Adelina for so long, Adelina takes the goal and consistently reiterates it and tells it to the people, but it's never been about her goal. It's been about, once we get to this level, we can do this for each other. Once we do this, this will help you guys. Once we do this, this creates these other opportunities.
Yeah, I see.
All it's been tied back to how that benefits them. And I see other people that sit up there and they pick a big goal and they talk to their people about it and they wonder why nobody buys into it. It's because the benefits of achieving it only benefits that leader. It's
That's
why,
fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
it's why Adelina or I or whatever, we don't like getting recognition for our team's production. Like, you won't see me go up on stage and grab an award for being number one because I didn't do the work. Like, I want every team member to be on there grabbing it, or I'm not going to go at all. And Adelina is the same way, because our goals are just the summation of what our people did. It's not me, right? It's not Adelina. It's us as a group.
It's interesting though, because, and I don't mean to keep pushing back on this, but these are like, I'm going back to Lena's email. I'm reading it right now. And she said, I'm 1,000% bought into all of it. The goal is the minimum. The company survives by growing. I survive by growing. People are always going to leave, not because of you or me, they just will. The way to solve everything is through growth. And I love this company. I think you need to really be in love to be bought in and to make it grow. And then she goes on to say, you know, we support one another. We lift each other up. We're family. We listen and we help, and we all care about each other's successes. I mean, that sounds like someone's who's really focused on, I guess, the team goal, you know?
Here's me pushing back, Via.
Yeah, you can push back.
I don't think they're bought into the goal. I think they're bought in and committed to our mission and our vision. They understand that our company, we are setting out to win, to be number one, that we are going to make millionaires, and we are going to give millions away. And they get excited about that because they want to be a part of it, and they want to be a part of delivering that to other people as well. Not the specific number or recruits or market share. You can't spend market share, right? You can't eat trophies. Like, they're bought into our mission, our vision, and our values. And if you thought that, if I believe that our mission, vision, and values maybe in some way are our goals, Via, and I'm very much bought into that, and I preach that all the time. Not so much a tangible number or standard or recruit or profitability, if that makes sense.
It all made sense. I sort of pushed back because I wanted you guys, because I wanted you guys to expound on it more, right? Because I think everything you guys are saying is right. And it's just human nature, right? It's in our DNA that we really, at the end of the day, we want to pretend we care about us.
Yeah.
You know, it's just human nature. I am going to stop the screen share. It's a little afternoon. Do you guys have 5 minutes to hang back and answer some questions really quick for us?
Sure. I think you had the masterclass slide up there, and I know we only have 1 or 2 spots left. If anybody cares, we're asked all the time if I do any personal coaching, and I don't have time for it. Or what I do have time is to give somebody a different approach to coaching. So we created masterclass. We get together 4 times over a 1-year period for 2 days, day and night, where we spend around 20 hours 4 times a year, so 80 hours in a year, rebuilding your life, your finances, your health, your relationships, your whole world in an intimate group where half of us cry. There's tons of homework and there's tons of accountability. And we give the proceeds to charity. So if you guys are interested in that, it's expensive, it's exclusive, and we only do this once a year. You got to email josiah@benkinney.com, and he can give you the details. So Via, let's take questions from everybody in the room, and then
and really quick, you guys, I signed up. I was in the first masterclass that's still going on now, and I had no idea what it was, and I signed up for it, and it has been it's just been a game changer. By half day of the first session, I had such a game changing aha. It sort of changed how I do what I do. I mean, it's just that amazing. I think part of it is just who takes 2 days every couple of months to just focus on self-growth with Ben, and these amazing people around him. And it's really cool to have diversity in the group. There's all sorts of different people that you don't know. At the first session, you don't know them. And by the third session, you're like hugging him and going on trips together. It's just utterly amazing, right? And, Ben's even cried, guys. If you want to see Ben cry, you can do masterclass. All right.
5 of those people on the call right here. I see Corinne Nguyen, who's one of the top agents in the whole country, and Bethany, a really great agent out of Phoenix, and Kristen Kingsbury, and there's lots of great people on the call here. So thank you guys for.
Hey guys, I cannot scroll up all that. So why don't you put your questions in Q&A? Here we go. Jean, hi Jean. Sorry we didn't connect last week, my friend. What is on the leaderboards you look at on Mondays with the agents? Are you asking Adelina that question? Did you talk about leaderboard?
I did. Yeah, so leaderboards is active clients, active sellers, pendings, closings, and net GCI that they are at for the year. We want to have 10 active buyers and active sellers at all times. That's our goal that we push for. Anyone who has 4 pendings or more at a time, that's a really solid place to be. And then closing, where are they in conjunction to their goal? And that's public. Everybody sees each other's and they're ranked.
Cool. Hey, Ben, when you speak of profit, are you defining it as net profit before taxes or some other definition? Well, yeah.
It's a net profit before taxes after I pay myself a reasonable salary. What I would make if I had to go get a job out in the world.
Chastity Rosales is asking, how does team training work? Is it weekly, monthly, or quarterly?
Well, we do team training every morning at Scripps, and we call it Scripps, but we do a lot of things at that session. And we normally have webinars, calls, and other trainings and regional events and national events throughout the whole year. I think we probably spend more time in training than probably most other organizations do in 3 or 4 or 5 years.
This is a really great one from Liz Tolentino. What is one action that I can take today to be more open to receive others' truthful feedback? I feel like not everyone gives me truthful feedback opinions.
Be willing to not respond and not talk. Sit there with a Sharpie and a piece of paper and take notes while they give feedback. And at the end, thank them and let them know that you want to think about it before you respond. Like, just be open and learn to say nothing and take notes. That'll change how it happens for you.
Yeah. Really quick, Via, when that happens to me, it's because I don't have rapport with them. I don't have a deep enough relationship with them. So I've got to restart that relationship. I probably need to take 3 or 4 months of pouring into them before they'll be real with me again.
Yeah. Really well said. Adelina, Brian Crawford asks, I love what you said about pointing people back to their vision board. Can you share your weekly meeting agenda?
I actually don't have a weekly meeting. That might have been Lance. I have a first Thursday of the month meeting. There's a lot in it. If that's something that would benefit anybody, like, I can talk to Ben and Via and we can send a framework for it.
Yeah. Oh, Brandon saying Lance said that. Okay. When you shifted, all of us, or this is a good one for any of us, when you shifted from recruiting to attracting, what specifically did you do differently? This gets a little bit into the ideal team player, right? Hungry, humble, smart. But Adelina or Ben, how do you attract people? Oh, did I lose you?
I'm being polite. No. You don't attract people. You first become a leader, and then you teach people to do what you've done, and then you grow those people into leaders, and then people wake up one day and say, look what those people have done since they've associated with that person, and then people start coming to you. It's part of our whole leadership triangle. It doesn't happen that way. You don't wake up one day and put on the right cologne and the right dress and walk out and be like, damn, look at all these people that are coming up right now seeing Ben in a dress wearing cologne. That doesn't happen. What happens is they wake up one day and they saw the impact that you've had on yourself and other people, and now they really want to have that in their life, and then they raise their hand. Are you still picturing me in a dress, Via?
No, that vision will, I'm going to block it from my brain. No, I actually, what I was just thinking of, and by the way, really quick, right there, what Ben just did, that is how good he is with micro body language. What he's a master at is through a Zoom. He could tell that my focus was a little bit off. And what my focus was off on is I was thinking to myself, that's part of what we're doing. I don't know that it was intentional with this program, what we're doing now, because we're growing leaders. I thought that's pretty cool. When you said that, I was like, we're growing leaders. That's really cool. So I just started thinking about that. Adelina, everyone's asking for your agenda. So maybe on the Facebook group, if you feel so inclined, you wouldn't mind posting your team meeting agenda, monthly agenda. And sure. I think that's a wrap, guys. I think that's a wrap. Okay, all of you guys watching, thank you so much for being here. Yes, there will be a recording. And yes, all of us are on the Facebook group. It's a really active, I know that Ben and I personally are committed to trying to answer as many questions on there. I know I can speak for Adelina. She is too, right? Tricks. And so you can continue the conversation there. If things come to you later, or if we didn't get your questions answered, feel free to ask one of us and tag us on that group, and we're happy to do that. Right, guys?
All right. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Adelina, you're awesome.
Bye.
You're awesome, Tricks. You're awesome, Ben. Bye.